Historically, the result with post editing is it's been sort of underwhelming in terms of cost and quality optimization. Is that changing as AI systems get better, or are you seeing new types of workflows that do yield more productivity than the standard just run it through an AI system and have a human being correct it?
So if it's just the run it through an AI system and have a human being correct it, I think it's actually getting worse because the
Okay.
output because the output comes across as more fluent. It makes it actually harder to spot the errors. And so the translators are being asked to fix less, which often then results in them getting less money, but they're having to pay attention more to make those changes. So a lot of them really don't like this. But where I think there's strong potential is with the advent of quality estimation, which is not perfect yet. We're seeing strides, but it's still not all the way there. But if that could be solved and you could tell the humans where to focus, then it becomes a lot more interesting. And if you could say, you've run this document through, and 80% of this we can say with reasonable confidence, however you define that. Reasonable confidence, you don't need eyes on this. You've got this other 15% that we need you to take a look at and make some corrections. Oh, and then there's this 5% where we know the translation was bad and you're going to want to translate it from scratch, obviously making up numbers. That becomes a much more attractive value proposition for the business and for the individual translator who now is actually being put on something worthwhile and not having to read pages and pages of clicking next, 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 next. Oh, I think there was an error. Okay, I'm going to fix this one.
They're more involved in the whole process.
Yeah, so what you're describing is what's called a compound system, which is, you can have it go through a translation step and then a quality control step and then have that direct people to different places. This actually, we have implemented about 5 months ago, and we have live across most of our customers. And I agree that the results have been actually quite surprising to me in how strong that they've been. I think we were a little bit more skeptical about quality estimation for a long time. My view was always like, if you can figure out how to do quality estimation, why don't you just make your translation system better? But I think that using LLMs prompted appropriately brings in a different knowledge source is one way to think about it. And as opposed to just trying to predict MQM scores, which is historically how these systems were set up. And the results are really, really strong. And it more directs the human effort towards the area that requires human ingenuity and away from the things that are rote and the AI systems do really, really well. So I agree with you that I think that is the right approach that leads to the best outcomes in terms of quality, cost, which is what people are really paying. When you get a human in the loop, you're paying for verification. You're paying for a certification that the output is correct. And so you want to make that as efficient as possible, but also not make it a completely boring task for the people who are doing it, because that increases the likelihood of an error.